Everyone, we will get started very soon. I'm just gonna wait for a few more people to come in and then we'll get started. The test will be next week, and it'll be on this what we're learning today and on what we learned last week, aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So it'll be inflationary gaps, recessionary gaps, and aggregate demand, aggregate supply, and multipliers. So we're gonna do that today, and then next week will not be a lecture. I'll give you the whole period and the whole day to do the test. So yeah, so that's gonna be the next. Today it'll be the lecture. Next week I'll give you the whole class time to do the test, and then I'll be available for questions on. I'll be available for questions on WhatsApp. So my WhatsApp is right here. How's everybody today?
Good, Professor. How are you doing?
Good, yeah. Um, yeah, most like yeah, it's been a pretty good day. So I think we'll just get started, and then whoever comes in will catch up. So we'll go through recessionary and inflationary gaps and long run macroeconomic equilibrium. So so some crises that happened were the Great Depression through so Great Depression would be that would be a recessionary gap. So all these would be recessionary gaps. So the Great Depression mortgage lending, so there wasn't enough lending. Wall Street crash of 1929, stock market, Asian financial crisis 1997, dot-com bubble 95 2000, European debt crisis, stop of foreign capital, and global financial crisis 2007 2008. So these are all recessionary gaps, and that's when like you have, let's say you have demand and supply here. So price level, real GDP, supply, demand. So that's when, so the recessionary gap is when you're right here. You are just below equilibrium. So you're not where you should be. So that's what a recessionary gap is. So we're going to go through what recessionary and inflationary gaps look like and what's happening in the labor market and the what you can do from like what the government can do to support the economy in an inflationary recessionary gap and determine what the pros and cons are of this. So we're going to go through the process on how an economy moves from equilibrium in the short run to equilibrium in the long run. And we're going to go through how the long run solves the economic problems through, however, the frictional and structural unemployment remain and price levels stabilized. So so when they say that, that means that so in a recession, there is cyclical unemployment due to the recessionary gap, right? But there is always structural and frictional unemployment in any market. So because so structural is due to technology. Unemployment is due to technology taking over your job. So what types of jobs do you think would be taken over by technology? So like cashiers would be like, so cashiers at McDonald's are now automated for the most part. Therefore, we don't need a person for it. Therefore, structural. A bank teller would be a good one. That's great. Excellent job. And then frictional unemployment is when people are unemployed and looking for a better job. So in the short run, stickiness of nominal wages and other prices can prevent the economy from achieving its potential output. So wages don't move, wages don't go up in the short run. However, they go up in the long run. Yeah. And also structural unemployment is happens because people don't have the skills for new jobs. So they have to upgrade the training. Right.
Creating more jobs maybe, so there will be more money circulating, then people will have more purchasing power.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, exactly. Yes, they can create more jobs through more government spending, increasing the money supply. That's great. That's great, Michael. Great job. So then the so so if employment is greater than the natural level, real GDP will be also greater than the potential level. So then what they do here is they cut so they can reduce government spending. Like if if actual GDP is greater than potential GDP, they can reduce government spending, increase taxes, or reduce the money supply. So in this case, they are reducing the money supply uh, in Canada and the US to get rid of this. So that's what they're doing right now. And then so here if you increase, so this increase in aggregate demand here, this arrow right here, this is caused by an increase in government spending. And then an increase in the cost of healthcare would cause this aggregate supply curve to shift left. So right here, this is an increase in healthcare costs. Right here. So if the economy faces a gap, how do we get that situation to potential output? So we could do nothing and let everything adjust. So everything will eventually adjust, but also we could do something. So recessionary gap, we could increase government spending, increase money supply, or inflationary gap, we reduce government spending or reduce money supply. So we could do either of that. So we could either let it adjust on it by itself, because in the long run it will adjust by itself. But if we want it to speed up and fix it quicker, then we have to spend more money, or like we need to change spending or change the money supply if we want it to change quicker. So yeah, so in this case, to get rid of a recessionary gap, increase government spending or increase the money supply. To get rid of a inflationary gap, reduce government spending or reduce the money supply. Stabilization policy that reduces the level of GDP is a contractionary policy. So this shifts the aggregate demand curve, left. So aggregate demand would shift left in that case. So fiscal policy is the use of government purchases, transfer payments, and taxes to influence the level of economic activity. Monetary policy is the use of central bank policies to influence the level of economic activity. So, real GDP appears to follow potential output quite closely, although you see some periods where there are inflationary recessionary gaps. Panel B shows the size of these gaps expressed by percentage of potential output. So some economists argue that stabilization policy can and should be used when recessionary or inflationary gaps exist. What do you think? Should we use stabilization policies when recessionary or inflationary gaps exist? Or should we increase government spending, decrease government spending, increase taxes, decrease taxes, increase money supply, decrease money supply?
I think we should use a stabilization policy of sort. Uh, I don't really have any more like justification for it. I think we should.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I think it's important because it takes too long for it to adjust by itself. So we need to increase government spending to so like when there is so it takes too long. It takes too long for an economy to recover from recession without government intervention. So we should increase government spending, reduce taxes, increase money supply when there is a recessionary gap. And also right now, so good job, Michael, on that. Also right now, like we're facing a lot of inflation. So we should be increasing the interest rate reducing the money supply, decreasing government spending, increasing taxes to get rid of our inflationary. Yeah. So like, yeah, we should intervene because like, if we wait too long, like it takes too long to do it by itself. So it's best to just change it. So which of the following situations illustrates how fiscal policy can influence aggregate demand? Which one? People saving more instead of investing due to inflation. Government increases expenditure, demand for loanable funds increases. Bank of Canada raises interest rate. Government reduces goods and services tax. So which one would that work for?
C, Bank of Canada raises interest rates.
Yes, that's great. Yeah, correct. So yeah, that would reduce aggregate demand. Great job, Michael. That's great. So then classical versus Keynesian. So classical is self-regulating and always at full employment. Policies that minimize the disincentive effects of taxes and investment, technological change in employment, technology creating higher employment and obsolete workers, new classical business cycle fluctuation or efficient response to shocks in the economy. So like classical is like you let things just happen. You don't intervene, you just let it all adjust. And it takes too long for it to happen. And like the people suffer through poverty for too long. That's why the Keynesian approach is better.